Borno State can be said to be one of the most talked about states in northeast Nigeria for its rapid infrastructure and human capacity development. In the last decade, it has evolved from a war-ridden to one of the most precious cities in the Sahel region. Welcome to Borno Restoration. I'm Jesse Tafida. But first, let's bring you Borno today. The University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital has managed to keep up best practices in delivering quality healthcare services in the country since its establishment in 1983. With its 800-bed capacity, the hospital has been able to cater the healthcare needs of victims of the 12-year Boko Haram insurgency. Now, the Federal Ministry of Health is at the hospital to assess the project and program, special interventions, and released fund performance of 2020 to 2021.
I can say proudly that I was highly impressed from the structures, from the equipment, from what I saw on ground, that the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, like I said earlier on, is ready to actually stop medical tourism in Nigeria. I think it's one of the very few centers that I can say that has the facilities here, particularly in the northeast sub-region.
What we really need in this country, when we have Nigerians going abroad, meeting Nigerians, treating them abroad, why can't they stay here in Nigeria and treat Nigerians?
Chief Medical Director of the hospital, who took them round, assured to always sort out ways to improve its healthcare service.
We have 4 bunkers here, 2 linear accelerators and 2 brachytherapies. The linear accelerators that we have, that's the Electa Infinity, is the first one that is coming into Nigeria. And then the second one that the Federal Ministry of Health just finished the procurement process for us is called HD Vasa. And it has a facility for stereotactic surgery. With the support of the Federal Ministry of Health, my director is here and my permanent secretary is here. We will do whatever it takes so that nobody from Northeast can go outside Northeast for treatment. That's our target.
The Federal Ministry of Health promised to bring more intervention to support the hospital. The Northeast Development Commission is the body responsible bringing to life a region that has suffered 12-year insurgency. The commission has endeavored to restore livelihoods of victims of the insurgency, and it is now making efforts to sustain its intervention. Today, the NEDC is meeting with key stakeholders to draw a development plan on stabilizing the Northeast region.
The essence of having these diverse stakeholders under one roof here, therefore, is harness their individual and collective input to enrich the process and align the NEDC's policy of inclusiveness and bottom-up approach.
The minister is proud, as a supervising minister, to see that NEDC has hit the ground running, even before the finalization of this plan.
One of the topmost catalysts for boosters of security is getting employment for the youth. So the master plan is going to focus on employment.
Stakeholders at this meeting see the gathering as a step in the right direction towards bringing to life social and basic amenities to victims of insurgency.
I would like to urge the Commission to also look into the possibility of complementing government efforts in developing and implementing viable and workable strategies on how best to address the current challenges.
I want to use this opportunity to call on the NDRC to continue opening its doors for a robust communication channel with the community
In terms of providing the necessary security, which we will continue to give.
This interactive session between the NEDC and government, religious and traditional leaders, CSOs and security agencies is key towards ensuring the beginning of a fruitful journey and success to sustainable development in the region. Boko Haram, once tagged the world's deadliest terrorist group, has continued to terrorize communities around West Africa's Lake Chad region for years. The insurgency is creating fresh hardship for people of the region and compounding the predicament of millions of people in northeast Nigeria. Camp, buses are already positioned to ferry IDPs to their new abode. arriving at the new Auno settlement was a dream come true for the more than 1,000 households resettled here, as they were also supported with the sum of 100,000 naira each.
What the governor has done to us has really put smiles on our faces. We never thought such a time would come for us to be resettled back to our places of abode. After all we went through, I sincerely want to appreciate Governor Babagana Zulum for bringing us back home. We are hopeful to start our lives back again.
In Kaleri is another housing project inaugurated by Governor Zulum. These 1,000 blocks of houses are meant to advance the state resettlement agenda for IDPs. So far, more than 5,000 houses have been constructed and about 7 communities have been resettled.
It's ongoing across the state, and this is in line with the fact that government went to resettle most of the displaced communities. Government went to return our IDPs to ancestral and traditional home, and that is why you can see a lot of construction is going on across the state. This is one of them. Here, Kalori, we constructed about 1,020 houses, and therefore it is a giant strike towards resettling our people. Well, we are so far able to resettle about 7 communities. That's cut across Marte, about 1,200 households. We have also resettled Baga, the major fishing town in Borno State. We have also resettled Benki town, which we brought some refugees from Cameroon and some IDPs in Maiduguri and Bama. We have also resettled town of Kauri in Kondoga local government. We have resettled Ajiri in Mafalo. So many communities have been resettled so far, and that is why the construction is going on across the state for us to resettle more communities. As you can see, the security situation is improving across the state. Government is trying to see that we almost resettle all displaced communities before the end of this term, God willing.
With the success recorded so far, Governor Zulum is not resting on his oars. The governor has continued to reach out to relevant institutions and collaborate with the federal government and others beyond the shores of Nigeria. He met with the President of Niger Republic, Mohamed Bazoum, in Diffa to discuss the return of refugees to Borno State. With significant improvement regarding the security situation in Borno State, the people are now looking forward to returning to their communities, and Governor Zulum has been working passionately to safely resettle all displaced persons in the shortest possible time. I had a chat with the Commissioner for Local Government and Emirate Affairs, Sun Maimele. He shed more light on how his ministry has been central to Professor Babagana Zulum's 10-pact development agenda. Take a listen. Welcome to Borno Restoration. As the Commissioner for Local Government and Emirate Affairs, what role is your office playing in the resettlement drive of Professor Babagana Zulum?
Thank you so much for this your beautiful question. You know, as Ministry for Local Government, we are the supervising ministry in respect of the 27 local governments of Borno State. And we played a very vital role in the resettlement exercise of Professor Babagana Zulum, the Executive Governor of Borno State, because this resettlement captures almost all the local governments. So we key into his agenda, and first, before we even resettle the communities, His Excellency, together with our ministry's representative, have visited almost all the local governments areas. Then we were assured by the military base in all these localities that these places are saved for the return of the IDPs. Then His Excellency will direct immediately the Ministry of Reconstruction, Rehabilitation and Resettlement in conjunction with the Ministry for Local Government to put all these damaged infrastructures in that localities on ground before we now take these people back to their ancestral homes. The basic amenities that His Excellency have very serious concern is especially the rehabilitation of primary schools, the health clinics, water facilities, and also power supply to some extent. So as ministry, we worked tirelessly in conjunction with the RRR to see that all these infrastructures are put in place. Where the houses were destroyed beyond repair, for now, the Ministry of RR usually construct new houses so that we will settle the communities. In that respect, we will now brief His Excellency, and His Excellency, after our report, he will have to have a final visit to all these localities to ensure that these places are now habitable for human settlement. Then he will now direct us to now, at the request of the IDPs in the camps, which of the IDPs are more pressing from their communities that they want to go back to their localities. Then we'll now identify the RRR, the humanitarian, the SEMA, they all have their list. So we have to see that those people from so-so local government are very fresh to go back to their localities, especially those local governments that have irrigation farming. So with this development, we were able to almost resettle almost all the local governments in the state. Virtually before the coming of President Muhammadu Buhari, 20 local governments were under the control of Boko Haram. And I am happy that now there is no any local government that is in control by Boko Haram, but only the two challenging local governments, that is Abadam and Guzamala. There are military operations that is ongoing, and we are awaiting the approval of the military to resettle these communities. And I'm happy that for that of Abadam, the headquarters, that is Malampaturi, the local government headquarters, we have started clearing operations. We have started excavation the area, making clearance, and some of the facilities we are now putting them in place, especially water supply, health clinic, primary schools, and the local government secretariat. So immediately after the clearance operations, we are taking back Malampaturi community. Some of them are residing in Niger Republic, some of them are in Damasak.
Give us a clear picture of how these local governments were before the coming of Zulum administration.
Before the coming of Zulum administration, the local governments, though I was not a commissioner of local government at that time, but I can beat my chest to say that there is nothing to write home about, because virtually about 20 or 19 of the local governments were residing in Maiduguri. The indigenes of that area were residing in Maiduguri. The traditional rulers, the local government executives, all the local government functionaries were in Maiduguri. The traditional rulers were in Maiduguri. So almost that local governments were now under the close supervision of the Boko Haram. They were even taxing the left out communities. So there is nothing to write home about. But I am happy that today almost all of these people were returned and they have resettled and they are living peacefully in their localities.
A lot of local governments that were ravaged are now reopened. How would you access the level of infrastructure put in place by the governor?
In fact, Banki, before the coming of this administration, when Banki was Banki, and compared to today's Banki, is far more better than Banki as it was. Because the infrastructures that were put in place in Banki by this administration, in number of houses, the facilities, the electrification, they have not been enjoying it because Banki is not a local government headquarters. The number of houses that are in Banki today are more than even the Bama local government headquarters. And you have to attest to us that when we were in Banki, by 10 p.m. in the night, we were walking in Banki from shops to shops. And almost all the provisions that you know that you can get in Maiduguri, you will get it in Banki. Because of the border community, the people from Cameroon, they used to come and make their purchases, and those from Nigeria go to Banki.
Tell us, how is this ministry cultivating the traditional rulers to ensure that this peace is sustained?
No, it's not even the traditional rulers alone. It's the local government functionaries. All of them, before the coming of this administration, virtually, as I said, almost all the functionaries of the local governments were in Maiduguri. So the governor himself have to tax both himself, the deputy governor, and this ministry to go around all the local governments to see that those local government functionaries should go back to their respective local governments since peace has gradually returned. Then, after doing that exercise, we found out that most of the local government functionaries are not going to their respective offices. So, the governor now directed that we should have a surprise visit to these local governments. The governor took the pain of going to Borno Central. The deputy governor took the pain to go to Borno South. And this ministry, headed by my humble self, went to Borno North. And we now made a surprise visit to the local governments, and we found that almost 100 plus senior civil servants were not in their respective offices. So when we now brought our report, the governor directed that all these people should be suspended. We suspended them, and for a period of 3 months. That after this suspension, people has learned a lesson. And we did that one deliberately to serve as a deterrent. So those people now voluntarily return to their local governments. Then the traditional rulers were now directed, I'm coming to your point now, were now directed to go back to their palaces. That's why the Sheikh of Dikwa right now is in Dikwa. The Sheikh of Bama is in Bama. The Emir of Biu is in Biu. The Emir of Askira is now in Askira. The Emir of Shani now is Shani. The Emir of Uba is now in Uba. The Emir of Goza is in Goza. So all the emirs and sheikhs that are living outside Maiduguri are now in their respective local governments and in their respective palaces. So with that development now, the clear responsibility of being a traditional ruler is number one, to preach peace. That is their primary objectives. So when they went back, now the district heads went back, the village heads went back, the bulamas, that was the ward heads, they also went back. Almost all the palaces in all the emirates are in a good and proper shape.
Now let's talk about the resettlement drive. Is there any plans put in place by the governor in 2022 to resettle other people?
Resettlement exercise is a continuous process. His Excellency has made it very clear that any community that is willing to go back to their respective local government, the government is ever ready to assist. By this, the IDPs that were staying in Bakassi camp, it's a very large camp. So the governor now went there, made some inquiries, and he found out that the people are actually ready to go back to their localities, especially those from Baga, Axis, because of the fishing activities, because of the dry season farming. They were ready to go back to Baga, and those from Doro, they are also ready to go back. That is from Kuka, our local government. Now he made it very clear that anybody that is willing to go back, every head of household will be provided with 100,000 naira token and some quantities of rice, maize, and cooking oil. With this measure, he has paid all this money to all the IDPs residing in Bakassi camp, and Bakassi camp has now been closed. Then he moved to Stadium camp. Then in Stadium camp, he also went there. He interviewed them. They agreed that they are willing to go back to their respective local governments. Then he now ordered that the SEMA should go and take the stock of those who are actually willing to go back to their communities. The team was headed by the chairman of palliative committee, the commissioner of agriculture. They went there and got the statistics. Then he moved to Teachers Village. Teachers Village, I can say, is almost the second largest camp in the state. They were all paid this money. So 4 of these major camps in Maiduguri are now closed. And these people were willingly going back to their respective communities. And I am happy some of them, with their return immediately, they went into their farming business. They went into their fishing businesses.
Honorable Commissioner for Local Government and Emirate Affairs, Zulum, thank you for your time on Borno Restoration.
Thank you very much.
And that's our package on this edition of Borno Restoration. Many thanks for watching. I'm Jessie Tofida. See you next time. Bye-bye.